I'm going to show you how to work on some shading if you're trying to make a drawing look more realistic or more 3D. Then what you need to add is some shading and some value to it. So to do that, today we're going to use these graphite crayons. There are 3 different darknesses. There's a 2B, there's a 6B, and there's a 9B. The B stands for blackness. The 2 tells you how soft the lead is. So the lower the number, the harder the lead is, which means the lighter the value is going to be. The higher the number means the softer the lead is, and the darker the value is going to be. So to get the darkest value, I'm going to use the 9B. When you're practicing shading, a good way to do that is to go ahead and make a value scale. So to do that, I'm just going to draw a little bar, and then I'm going to add some squares in it so that I can practice doing a value scale. This is going to be my lightest color, this our lightest value, and this is going to be my darkest value. So the lightest value is just the color of our paper, which is already white, so we don't have to do anything in this square. And this square, we're going to make it the darkest value, as black as we can get it. So I'm going to go ahead and use my 9B, and I'm going to color in this square. Now, to get a darker value, it's all about the pressure. So I'm putting quite a bit of pressure, I'm pushing hard to get this square as dark as I can get it. Once you've gotten your dark value in, then we can go ahead and start with our light value. So I'm going to switch to the 2B because I know that's going to be lighter, and I'm going to not hold it so close because I know that to get it really light, I don't want to have too much pressure. So I'm going to hold it back here because that keeps me from putting too much pressure on it. That way I can keep it nice and light. And I'm going to just color in this square with a light value. And then I'm going to go ahead and go all the way across my value scale with this light value. This next square to be even darker, so I'm going to add just a little bit more pressure, and I'm going to layer some more graphite on top of it to make it a darker value. I'm going to take that value all the way across. Now since I'm getting even darker, I'm going to go ahead and switch to my 6B, and this next square is going to be an even darker value. So I'm going to add more pressure. Then this one is going to be even darker, but we don't want it as dark as the darkest value. This is my value scale. It's a good way to practice at different levels of pressure to get your lightest light and your darkest dark, and then some in between values. So if I wanted to make, let's say, a sphere, I would start with a circle, and then before I could start shading, I need to decide where I want my light source to be. So we'll pretend our light source is right here. If I have a light right here, then it's going to hit my sphere right here. So this is going to be my lightest values, and then the part of my sphere that's furthest away from the light source is going to be my darkest. So I'm going to start layering some graphite on my sphere. And because it is a sphere, which means it's round, I'm going to make sure that I'm curving my strokes as I'm coloring in the value. I need to make sure that it curves with the contour of my sphere. Once I have a pretty good base value, like so, then I can go ahead and start darkening up this side that's away from the light source. So I'm going to start adding a little more pressure. It's all about layering the graphite. So this is not something that's going to be really fast to do. It's going to take some time. Now, if you wanted to, you could use your finger to kind of soften up some of this. But the danger of using your finger is that you start to lose some of the in-between values. So you're probably going to want to go in and add some more. And I'm going to go ahead and go into my darker value. So my darker lead, I'm going to get the 9B. And I know that this bottom part of my sphere is going to be the darkest. So I'm going to start layering my darker value, and I'm still going in a curve. When the light source is here and it's coming this way, that means that my shadow, my cast shadow, is going to go that direction. So I know that cast shadows tend to kind of elongate, so I'm gonna go ahead and elongate my shadow, kind of make that shape. And I'm going to go ahead and shade the shadow in, and I'm just going to start with a light value, so I'm not adding very much pressure right now because I'm just trying to get the shadow colored in. I also know that where the shadow and the sphere are touching is going to be the darkest. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of darken up a line right here by putting pretty heavy pressure on the bottom edge of my sphere and darkening up the shadow right here. What you don't want to do is you don't want to leave this really harsh line that I'm getting right here on our shadow. I want to even that out and make it a gradation so that it just gradually gets lighter. So I'm going to go in and layer some more value on that. And I'm just going to easily just ease in with my pressure. And as I start to layer, that line starts to kind of disappear. And you don't want a harsh edge on your shadow, so you can go ahead and with your finger just kind of soften up the edges a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and add this line behind it, so it kind of looks like it's sitting on a table or something. And we have these kneaded erasers. They kind of look a little bit like clay and feel a little bit like clay. These are really good for getting really small details if you have to add a small highlight, because you can manipulate the eraser into just a really fine kind of point. So if I wanted to add like the highlight where the light is bouncing off of my sphere, I can go ahead and do that. I can also kind of just gently tap it to kind of ease up on the edge of my sphere, because we don't want a really heavy outline, because as soon as you outline something really dark, it makes it look flat. So I'm going to kind of erase that a little bit, and then I might go in some with my 2B and kind of even out the value. And then that's how you make something look more 3D. And I can still go in there and kind of touch up some spots if I need to make this maybe just this a little bit darker.